Hello, and thank you for joining me today on Loyal World Info. Another day of the globe spinning, another day of global news to digest. I offer a sane, rational voice in an insane, rational time. I will be your host, and let's get into today's topics. Okay, and the topics of the day for September 7th through the 10th, 2020. Australian journalists flee China in fear. Chinese universities ranked among the best globally. 7 men fined for rioting in front of a temple. Hong Kong police using brute force on young women. PC Room's business model shift. Taiwan donates 5 mass production lines to the Czech Republic. Taiwan Air Force denies it shot down Chinese fighter jet. Vietnam triumphs in tank battalion of the 2020 Army Games. Laos establishes mechanism for cyberbullying complaints. Vietnam news agency's anti-fake news project wins international press award. Digital prison set up to bring justice to sexual crimes. Peach plane diverts to Nigeria airport to offload passenger who refused to wear a mask. And self-driving buses being tested across Japan let you pay with your face. Alright, so stay with me and let's get into the stories. Okay, our first story of the day comes from the Taiwan News. Australian journalists evacuated from China amid security concerns. 2 reporters were placed under Australian diplomatic protection when Canberra negotiated with Beijing to allow journalists to leave China. Taipei. 2 Australian journalists in China have been flown home after they were questioned separately by China's Ministry of State Security. Bill Burright, Beijing, correspondent for the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, ABC, and Michelle Smith, based in Shanghai for the Australian Financial Review, were told by Chinese officials last Thursday that they were persons of interest in an investigation into Chang Lee's, an Australian anchor for state broadcasters CGTNT, who was detained on August 14th. 7 uniformed police officers visited the home of the Brittles in Beijing and Smith in Shanghai simultaneously at 12:30 a.m. They were initially informed by the Chinese authorities that they were banned from leaving the country. Both reporters were placed under Australian diplomatic protection for 5 days while Canberra negotiated with Beijing to allow the journalists to leave China after a 1-hour interview, AFR said. Both reporters flew out of China on Monday night and arrived safely in Sydney Tuesday morning. It is very disappointing to have to leave under these circumstances, British told reporters at Sydney's airport. It's a relief to be back in a country with genuine rule of law, but this was a real win and it was not particularly a good experience. The Australian government has already warned ABC to remove its staff from China before the reporters were questioned by the Chinese authorities. The latest incident comes amid deteriorating relations between Australia and China after Canberra called for an independent investigation on the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. Both sides have since engaged in tit-for-tat trade. So yes, you may remember that first Australia wanted the reports, and then Australia also was siding with some of the East China Sea negotiations, and there was other things as well. There were some people that were spying Australia. So Australia and China have been having a lot of conflicts lately, and Beijing is just trying to strong arm their will to what they see fit for themselves. And Australia, some parts of Australia are fighting back, but other parts, like the capital Victoria, just accepted a Belt and Road grant for subways, all paid, being to be created by China for the Belt and Road subway lines. Anyway, what do you think about this article? You remember just a few weeks ago that the U.S. Embassy in Texas for China was shut down, and then Chengdu for USA. So this is kind of going on globally right now, where a lot of disputes are happening. So leave your comments below, like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into the next story. Okay, our next story. Chinese institutions gain ground in ranking of world's best universities. In London, Chinese institutions moved up into the latest ranking of the world's best universities by the UK-based Times Higher Education magazine, with Tsinghua University securing joint 20th place to become the first from Asia to break into the top 20 under the current system adopted in 2011. The number of Chinese entries into the top 100 doubled to 6 from 3 last year, with Peking University placed 23rd, moving up 1 spot, and Fudan University advancing from 70th from 109. Okay, and by the way, this comes from the a Malaysian newspaper. So I want to point out though is, there's a lot of universities. What was it? Just in the news this week or last week, they had that USC professor who said "nugua," and he got not fired, but unpaid leave because the students were just trying to voice their opinion. And personally, I think that they shouldn't do that, but whatever. And on top of that, you had China donated what was it, 100 million to Harvard. But it's not only that, the money, but I think of Australia in this case, and in Australia, they take all these Chinese in because they do pay good money, but they also want to teach their thing, so that the Australians will bow. Okay, we will have a China club. Okay, we will offer Chinese culture. Okay, we'll offer Chinese language. Okay, we will denounce the Hong Kong protest. Okay, we will do this to acknowledge you, China. We'll have China maps in our classrooms. Again, sometimes U.S. does this too, but when is it too much panhandling for money versus giving up your nationality, your nation, and your sovereignty? So, what about you? Did your university ever panhandle to get money, whether it's from China or another country? And how do you feel about universities teaching stuff that's not really relevant or is representative of another nation, not your own? Please like, comment, subscribe, and how also do you feel that China is moving up into the top universities and eventually might become 50% of them? Leave your comments below. Okay, moving on to our third article today. 7 men fined for rioting in front of a temple in Lumot. And this actually came from Malaysia. And Lumot is a temple in one of their cities. So it's kind of like a historic site. So Lumot, September 8th. 7 men were fined between 2,800 Malaysian rupees. And basically, 1 Malaysian rupiah is like, 100 is like $3. So 2,800 is like 400 US dollars. Okay, so they're fined $400 by the Sergi Mangung Margins Court here today after pleading guilty to rioting in front of a temple here last week. Magazine's Hua, was fined 2,800 fine in default 7 months jail so basically they were age of 50, 49, and whatnot. So while 5 others named, and they give their names, were also fined 3,000 Malaysian rupees. Okay, and spent 8 months in jail. Also pleading guilty to the same charges was a 16-year-old boy, and the court set October 14th for the sentencing, pending his behavior report from the social welfare department. So he basically right now is in I don't know what they call that, correctional facilities, juvenile hall. Yeah, juvenile hall in Malaysian terms. All the accused were charged with committing the offense in front of the Fu Lung Kong Temple in the Singhai Ping Bezir, Pongok. Okay, here at around 9:30 p.m. on September 1st. The charge under Section 147 at the Penal Code read together under Section 34 of the same law carries a maximum jail term of 2 years and a fine or both. Deputy Public Prosecutor Fawthon said that they were representing the accused. In the same court, 5 men pled guilty to the same charges. The court allowed them to bail between 2,000 and 5,000 Malaysian rupees. Okay, so now why is this here national news? Okay, first off, this was a historic site in Malaysia country. But the reason I put this as news, how many statues in America fell down, and how many of those people were not arrested? How many stores were burned and not people were not arrested? So, I'd like a country that is strong with enforcing its laws. Yes, every country does protest, but every country doesn't make a scene and burn their city down. Korea initially had a protest years ago for to get Miss Park out of office. They protested well to get her out. I think they learned from the 2010 protest when Japan wanted to claim a Dokdo Island. They were actually killing white birds on TV. The Koreans were, so automatically everybody sided with Japan. So they learned how to protest peacefully. Hong Kong's another example. Hong Kong, they, for the most part, yes, there are a few broken bottles, or a few this or that, but they protested peacefully. The Yellow Jackets in France protested peacefully for the most part. And so when you protest peacefully, you do get results, but for some people, they want to use protesting to riot and to make a scene of something. So I have no issue with governments cracking down. What about you, though? What country are you from? What happens if you do riot? Is it okay, or will you be sent to jail, court, whatever? And do you think it's acceptable to riot at any cost, or do you think there should be consequences for your actions? Please like, comment, and subscribe. I want to know what you think about this. Okay. Our next article comes from Asia 1, and this affects Hong Kong. The Hong Kong police defend tactics over video of officer tackling a 12-year-old girl goes viral. Human rights advocates and critics have warned of what they've called increasingly aggressive policing tactics in Hong Kong after a male officer tackled a 12-year-old girl and pinned her onto the ground during Sunday's anti-government protest. Although the young girl was not among the 300 people arrested that day, images of her being restrained on the streets of Hong Kong angered advocates for women's and children's rights, coming just days after officers knocked over a pregnant woman blocks away before using pepper spray. During the rally, Kowloon, by the way, I have been to a Kowloon city in Hong Kong on Sunday. Police unleashed rounds of pepper balls and pepper spray. Plainclothes officers wrestled demonstrators to the ground while water bottles were thrown at police wielding batons who went after other protesters. The responses have raised concerns of officers using excessive force and a disturbance much smaller than what regularly occurred during last year's social unrest. A police insider said that the force used a preemptive approach by making early arrests, preventing the demonstration from plunging into further violence, but an expert struck a more cautious tone, saying that the move risked innocent people being detained and did little to rebuild the people's image battered by accusations they used excessive force during the months-long anti-government movement last year. Sunday's demonstrators were answering anonymous online calls to protest that Beijing enacted national security law and the delay of the Legislative Council elections, which the government postponed for a year, citing health risk. So again, when you guys think that the coronavirus was an accident, I still say it was an act of war by China. Remember, they had the Southeast China gossip going on with Vietnam. They had the Hong Kong protests going on. They had the U.S. Trade deal going on, which they could get out of with an act of God. They had all these issues, and all eyes were on them. So, do you not think that they purposely got this out, and therefore got all eyes were no longer on them? They were distracted. In this case, the legislative law they're saying is when Hong Kong kind of had their mayor governor elections for across our Congress, I guess, like U.S. Congress elections for each district. The Hong Kong people actually chose people that represented them and not the Chinese for like 95%. So that's why China does not want to put those people in office. They want to keep the old people in office. And the national security law, if you recall, anybody that talks bad about China, whether they're in Hong Kong or globally, can be deported back to China and face charges, and they can be extradited from Hong Kong to Beijing. So it's a pretty serious law. Okay, so activists could be heard chanting "Liberate Hong Kong, Revolution of our Times," a slogan that could run afoul. So again, the new law. So again, that guy on Blizzard, the tournament, he said that. Remember, they pulled him, they fined him, and whatnot. So that's what's going on with Hong Kong. But the real reason is international news. What is your stance on police and rioting? What do you think about, first off, this person wasn't even a demonstrator, but secondly, it was a child. I have a different article that was done in Cambodia. A 12-year-old boy broke the lockdown rules like a month or two ago, and the police officer did not like go harsh on this little kid. He actually bought something that the kid was selling, and then he kind of directed him back to the town. And the reason that the police officer did that, he said, yes, for adult, I would have been mean, but I don't want to give this kid a bad example of a police officer for the rest of his life. So I handled the kid differently, and I informed the officials of the town to monitor their children better. So I do commend Cambodia for the way they handle that, and I do have a video. I will put the video link up here if you want to see that story, because I did cover it. And so anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Give me your thoughts on police attacking either innocent people or children. Should they handle them differently? I want to know. Leave your comments below. Okay, so this next article comes from Korea and about the PC rooms. Now, you know, I have on my channel, I have a few articles about PC rooms in Korea, but more recently about Japan, and how they are used sometimes for low-income people who will sleep overnight and use the restrooms to clean themselves up, shower, and move on. So, yeah, old men do that, and some homeless people do that, and other people will just go there because that's what they do. And in Korea, they usually would go there for, like, you know, in the West, we have these night out bar nights, whatever, but in Korea, they would do it like, oh, let's go play pub or Fortnite. And they get a group of friends, 8 or 10 people, and then they all play within the PC room. And when somebody won something, League of Legends or whatever, they'd all cheer, kind of like in the West where, you know, if some sports team scores a goal, whatever, then they would, home run, they would cheer that on. So I've experienced both of these as I've taught and traveled. But because of the coronavirus, things have changed. Because, you know, big groups can no longer gather and whatnot. So PC rooms have been caught in the crosshairs. They can no longer help the low-income people. At the same time, people can't go there for entertainment. So what are these businesses to do to stay alive and make money? Let's read the article and find out. Due to the recent measures to prevent the spread of corona, the government in Korea has designated PC cafes, karaoke rooms, and buffet restaurants as high-risk facilities, though the second phase of measures, and has suspended businesses. The backlash from workers in the industry who suddenly lost their means of livelihood is also tough. And I agree. And again, I try to share these articles not just for the consumers, but for the people that are working in these fields, kind of like the tourism industry. In the meantime, some PC cafes have recently launched a PC paid rental service, which is a hot to pick. It is a kind of hurdle that PC shop owners have suggested that they will rent PCs to those who need them to find their way, only to make fun of normal PCs due to businesses' suspension. So keep this in mind. So many businesses are locked down. I don't know. It could be many offices or whatever. And unlike America, Korean homes generally are small, and even the ones that are semi-decent sized, most don't have a PC in the house. The parents don't want the kids playing games. The man does the work at the office. So yes, everybody has a smartphone, but PCs are on the way out. So most homes do not have a PC in Korea, and I have seen this. I don't know anybody in Korea that has a PC, excluding me. According to the industry, PC rental services, which are being implemented in some PC rooms, they're lending the use of their PCs out to the houses of these business people. So in a way, what do you think about that? And the article goes on saying that they will charge about 250,000 won to 140,000 won, so about 120 to $220, depending on the specs of the PC. And the delivery charge will be 25 to $30, because that 30,000 won is about 27 US dollars. Okay. So what do you think about that? You know, you're the office worker, your manager, and you can't get your PC because your company closed down. Now, so these PC clubs are delivering the PCs to your house so you can do your work at your house. It's kind of like America, because most Americans have PCs, and those middle managers or whatever, they are doing their work on their computer at home. So it's normal for us to have a PC at home, but not for the Koreans. So this is a way that the PC rooms are adapting to stay alive. Now, okay, why is this international news? In what ways have companies around you adapted to try to get a new market, whatever, to survive? Like there was Spain the other day. They actually were having, instead of dine-in, they were having they were turning the whole parking lot into a restaurant with the meters, like every table was 2 meters apart or 3 meters apart. So they turned the parking lot into the dining area. Some people did sidewalk restaurants in America, which is new in America, but in Vietnam, that's nothing new. So again, these are the ways businesses are adapting. So how are businesses adapting where you are? And if you're one of these workers in the industry, how has your schedule or how have your workly duties changed in this time of need? Please like, comment, subscribe. I really want to know. Okay, this comes from the Taiwan news, and this is more of a follow-up to an article that happened on Monday, where the Czech Republic, the head guy attended a meeting, and he goes, "I am Vietnamese," in support of the Vietnamese country and government. And because of his actions, he got a standing ovation. And now 5 Taiwanese assembly lines will help protect 120,000 medical personnel in Czech Republic. So let's read this. Taipei, as Czech Senate Speaker Milos Blosha leads an 89-member delegation in Taiwan, Taiwanese firm and machinery industry leaders have raised funds to donate 5 fully automated 3D high-end mass production lines to the Czech Republic as a token of their appreciation for the Eastern European countries' friendliness toward Taiwan. Remember, this guy on my video up here, he got a standing ovation, and he said he loved Taiwan. And because of that, look what Taiwan, the country, did for him. So what has your country done to another country and them showed gratitude back? And again, I wish Vietnam, Korea, and other countries would stand up, because China's like, no, 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 no. I wish other countries would stand up and jump on the bandwagon, but that's a slow process. So let's keep reading. Automated technology, the news side of the news is saying that these 5 production lines are being donated by his company and a group of machinery industry leaders in the southern Taiwan to the Czech Republic to help them produce masks for 120,000 frontline medical staff. One production line can produce 30 medical-grade masks and N95 respirators per minute, according to COW. Kao estimated that the mass production lines will generate 200 million euros in the economic benefit for the Czech Republic per year. Therefore, he asserted that the equipment will not only help prevent the spread of the Wuhan virus, but also increase the job opportunities for the citizens. Wow, so see, there's just one man who stood up and did something for his country, and now he's got jobs for his people. He's got a standing ovation, and he's got stuff he can sell to other countries and make money. He said that when the production line arrives to Czech Republic, Taiwan will also dispatch experts to assist in assembling and operating the machines. The Czech government will also send its own personnel to Taiwan to learn how to use the machines and help the support network. So Taiwanese communication networks are well developed. If there are any problems, we will communicate through the video to help them overcome obstacles. When asked if the shipment of 5 mask manufacturing lines would affect the quality of masks available to Taiwan, Kuo said that there is a surplus of masks in the country and called for the public not to worry. When asked what his motivation was for donating the mask making lines, Kuo said that one reason is that Czech Republic has been very friendly to Taiwan, and the country needs more friends like this. He then added, more importantly, it can help another country reduce the number of people who die from the Wuhan pneumonia. Isn't that a good thing? So, again, how does your country feel toward Taiwan? And what does your country do to your neighbors or your allies? And how have they returned the favor? Please leave your comments below and like, comment, subscribe. I really want to know. Okay, moving on to our next story of the day. This again comes from the Taiwan news. Taiwan Air Force denies it shot down a Chinese fighter jet. And there we go. Taipei. Taiwan Air Force Command Headquarters said on Friday, September 4th, it refuted claims that Taiwan has shot down a Chinese fighter jet. The Defense Aviation Post, a military enthusiast Facebook group, on Friday afternoon posted that a Chinese Su-35 fighter jet crossed the median line in the Taiwan Strait and was shot down by Taiwanese Air Force. In response, the Air Force Command issued a press release calling it fake news. It also strongly commended the deliberate creation and dissemination of false information on the internet to confuse the public. Air Force Command also stated that in order to maintain airspace security, it will continue to monitor the seas and airspace around Taiwan, the Taiwan Strait, and provide accurate information in a timely manner to prevent the spread of false news and anti-Soviet unrest. So what do you think? Okay, it is fact that China has flown over Taiwan many times. That we already know. And I even have our cards. Look up here. I'll even show you months ago, back in March or April, that China did this. Okay, so do you think that Taiwan shot down the airplane? And even if they did or didn't, would you believe a Taiwanese report or the newspaper? Because sometimes newspapers are bought by the Chinese or leftist groups, whatever, and they're going to put fake news. Other times, Taiwanese will deny it as well because maybe it's a military secret or whatever. Other times, it could be real. I don't know. So I leave that to you. What do you think? Do you think Taiwan actually shot down an airplane? Yes or no? And have you had some country invade your airspace or water space, whether it's a boat or airplane? And how does your country deal with them? Please leave your comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Okay, moving on. Vietnam triumphs in tank battalion of the 2020 Army Games. First off, I never even knew there were Army Games or tank games, but congratulations to Vietnam. So, Moscow. The tank team of Vietnam People's Army triumphed at the final race of tank crews in the 2nd Division of the Tank Battalion event of the ongoing 2020 International Army Games in the suburbs of Russia, Moscow on September 4th. The Vietnamese teams completed 3 rounds of competition in 2 hours and 12 minutes and 42 seconds, bringing down 13 out of the total 24 targets. The Vietnam People's Army's tank team competes at the games. That's the pictures here for that. The team received enthusiastic cheers from the Vietnamese spectators and foreigner friends. The race also saw the participating of teams of Laos, Tagjagar, and Myanmar. The 2-week 2020 Army Games will wrap up today with the final race in the final division of tankers in the tank Biathlon competition, according to Russia. The Vietnamese People's Army's tank completes at the games. All right. So in this last picture is the tank team of Vietnam's People's Army. You know, I never did join the Air Force or anything, but if I did have any service, I would probably have loved to have driven a tank. You know, I played some video games back in the day, and they were kind of fun. If you had to join the services, what would you have done? Does your country have, I guess, war games? And have you participated in them? What do you do? And what do you do when you compete with another country? I've never really heard of games like that, so I'm a little curious to know. Please inform me, or the people below in your comments. And so, yeah, here's the cheerleaders, okay? All right. So, anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and with that, let's get on to our next story. Okay. Our next article comes from Laos. Laos establishes mechanism for cyberbullying complaints. And cyberbullying, if you don't know, is when people troll you online, they call you names online, they harass you online, or they post things that are untrue or maybe are true, like you were boyfriend, girlfriend, and maybe you took a topless picture for your boyfriend, but later you broke up. Then he puts that on the internet to make you look bad, or threatens to put it on the internet unless you pay him money or whatever. Other times, people will call you names, call your job, blah, blah, blah. So cyberbullying is a big problem. In the USA, Michelle Obama said she was going to stomp it out because it was a big problem back during the Obama administration. And personally, I think she did a horrible job. Because as a matter of fact, during Obama's second term, she took up a second cause because she did absolutely nothing to bring down cyberbullying or to bring charges against people who commit it. So let's read the story and see what Laos has done. Authorities in Laos have set up a new mechanism for dealing with cyberbullying and online harassment following an increase in defamation and slander via social media. Remember, there was also that guy in that was playing, not Fortnite, I think it was PUB, and he was winning really well. So the contestant across the globe, or America at least, called the cops, said this guy had guns or whatever in his house, and they went over and they shot and killed him. Well, I guess he was just playing a game, but they thought he had a gun. So cyberbullying can be very bad. So Laos Minister of Post and Telecommunications of Dr. Thammasy signed a new ministerial regulation last month authorizing the Laos Emergency Response Team to receive complaints from those who have been defamed. The new regulations allow victims of online harassment or cyberbullying to report their complaints directly to the CERT. Victims can also file criminal charges against the accused at the police station, which will result in authorities opening an official investigation. Wow, I don't even think America has that yet. I mean, whether it's for cyberbullying or even sometimes at the Me Too or any domestic violence issue, they'll always usually go for the guy's side or girl's side, and they'll never open an accusation against the victim if he wanted to go first. Anyway, the new cyberbullying report mechanism comes in response to a growing number of people using social media as a platform for defamation and slander. The new regulation allows victims a means of recourse to ensure the proper means of addressing the problem. Local daily Venturing Times reports that the Ministry of the Post Telecommunications is urging social media users in Laos to behave properly online and be mindful of their actions. It also It also hopes to remind the internet users to thoroughly check the news source while avoiding spreading false information. Laos opened the country's first digital forensics lab last year, allowing authorities to analyze more than 2,000 digital media-related criminal cases per year. It also allowed investigation to identify, transport, receive, and analyze and preserve digital evidence resulting in criminal cases and present this evidence in court. So, what do you think about having a task force like that? Do you think it's beneficial, useful? I personally would like it. Do you remember the Guardians of the Galaxy? The guy said something, the director said something like 20 or 30 years ago, then they tried using that against him. They kind of fired him. James Gunn. They fired him, then they let him come back because after a big hassle. But myself, I was around when the internet first came around, and I would like go typing on the internet. Sometimes I'd type out of rage because people would troll me. Other times I would just type and I would misspell words. I type fast now and have the best eyesight. But then they would copy and paste that, and then after you did copy and paste it, it's there forever. And this was before MySpace and Facebook. So I learned very early on that, you know what, the internet's great for searching for things and maybe for Skype and guides and whatever, but I never really got into that slander, trolling, and everything because I was aware what I say today could affect me later at a really early age, and I'm surprised that others have not grasped that. Anyway, so what do you think about having a law about this? Does your country have a law about cyberbullying or internet crime? If so, what are they and how are they used? And how do you feel about bringing charges against the accusers that are bullying you? Please like, comment, subscribe. I really would like to know. Okay, our next article of the day comes from Vietnam. And this is similar to what Microsoft, if you recall earlier this week, I put out a video about Microsoft, how they wanted to do something to check up on if photos have been edited or videos have ever been edited that could potentially mean that they are altered and therefore they're fake. So Vietnam has kind of done something similar. And this is their article. Vietnam News Agency's Anti-Fake News Project wins International Press Award. Go, go, Vietnam. Hanoi, a project on fighting fake news by Vietnam News Agency, won top prize in the category of Best Project for News Literacy, one of the 10 categories within the framework of the Asian Digital Media 2020 Awards presented by WANIFRA, the World Association of News Publishers. The awards are expected to be officially announced at the E-Digital Media Asia 2020 taking place on October 15th this year. Vietnam's fake news project, named the Fight Against Fake News, Creative Ideas and Effective Solutions, consists of 3 components: an anti-fake news song in 15 languages, a TikTok account, Fact to reach young people, and a training campaign that equips students with skills to spot fake news. Well, I'm surprised they're using the TikTok, because TikTok's not even really Vietnamese, but definitely is Chinese, and they say that's potentially spyware. Nowadays, but on the other hand, the young do use TikTok. Nowadays, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic, as fake news is spreading all around the world, Vietnam is not an exception. Vietnam News Agency, known as one of the leading media agencies in Vietnam, has been pioneering in the fight against fake news with thousands of in-depth publications under various forms of media. The publications not only alert viewers and readers about threats of fake news, but also actively reveal incorrect information in the press. Since 2019, VNA has implemented a series of creative initiatives. For example, an anti-fake news rap song, combination of a rap and news information, was launched in April 2020. The song was first performed in Vietnamese and then translated to 14 other languages, including English, Spanish, Russian, Italian, German, Mandarin, Japanese, Thai, Indonesian, Lamar, Lao, and Arabic. The song Say No to Fake News was pub published on all the websites and the platforms of VNA, as well as other major channels in Vietnam. I think I will put a link in the YouTube video and maybe even the podcast for the song. I don't think I have enough space in the podcast, though, for the description. The song also marked the launch of VNA's official account, Fake Check, on a TikTok on April 2020. This is the first time that Vietnam Media Agency has opened its own channel for fact-checking on TikTok. The clips include information on issues in Vietnam around the world, revealing fake news attraction and hundreds of thousands of views. One of the clips topped 1.4 million views. Okay, so I'm not going to read the rest of it, but I right now do teach and travel English around the world, but I do have a business degree, and when I have my business degree, I know marketing, where we do sales and we make people want something or believe something. So for the most part, I have never believed anything that is being told to me on the news in any form, maybe excluding Amber Alerts and the weather. But yeah, even during the 2004 elections, they were even proclaiming not Bush. Bush was not president. It was that person that was running. And it was funny because only Fox first said it, while everybody else said the Democrats won. So for like 2 hours, everybody said, yeah, Democrats, party, party, party. And then the results came and only Fox was correct. So that was another example. But nowadays, the media will just try to trick you, get your emotions or get your cash or whatever. So usually my philosophy is whatever the news shows me, it's the opposite that's true. But how do you decide what's fake news, not real news, and what news do you tolerate and not tolerate? And what do you think should be done to preserve the news and information and to perhaps sideline the fake news that we receive? Please leave your suggestions in the comments below and like, comment, subscribe. I really would like to know. And if you listen to this song, I really would like to know. Again, the song is Say No to Fake News. Check that out on wherever you get your music, on iStore, I guess. All right, and let's move on to the next story. Okay, this next article comes from Korea, the Korean Herald, and this was to me a pretty serious article. Digital prison set up to bring justice to sexual crimes. Calls growth for against shadow court following the death of a college student. Now, in America, and probably many places in the world, there's this big shift change where sexual allegations on campus, people, boys and girls party, then she gets in a fight or says, I didn't want that later, or just to be vindictive, then she goes to the school board and says, I was raped, I was touched, whatever, and then it causes hardship on the man. It's actually interesting. There was a report done not long ago, and it said it was like 95 or 99% accuracy that men were always at fault, even if the evidence was not there. And then because of that, Trump's Secretary of Education, that old girl, she said, you know what? Because of that, now we need to get funding for protection for the men, because we don't have equality here. We just have accusations, and we have a place where men cannot feel safe to learn and such. But that's America, and that's a story for another day. But let's get into what's going on in Korea and what they're doing, because this very possibly could come to America. And ad running by the Square by the Times activist called Cut Out demonstrated stronger punishment of welcome to video. Okay, so here's what happens. Dispute of brewing over a name of a shame website called Digital Prison, which discloses detailed personal information of those it accuses of being sex offenders and child abusers. A 20-year-old student from Korean University died in a suspected suicide on September 3rd after his personal information was published on the Digital Prison site. In July, the student had claimed that he was innocent and expressed frustration, posting a letter on his school community website saying none of the facts posted on the website are true. He added that he believed that his phone may have been hacked and he lent it to somebody. Well, this is kind of funny. In general, Korea is one of the safest countries there is. I could leave a phone on an ATM machine or at a bank. I can leave an ATM card in an ATM. I actually left a laptop in a classroom for 3 weeks at a university, and I came back and it was sitting there. I have picked up 2 or 3 cell phones on the street, and I have called the phone and I returned those phones to the users. One of them was actually a brand new phone too, iPhone 7 or 8 at the time. And then people came and picked it up. They bowed to me graciously in Korea, so it's really cool. But saying that, Korea has a hard-on for white-collar crime or unseen crime. If crime happens in public, we won't do it. If crime happens behind closed doors, game on. After the incident, the operator of the extrajudicial site commented, referring to the student as A via a telegram message notice Sunday as a phone number obtained through a telegram contract. A self-recorded a letter of apology, victims, and acquisitions of testimony saying A's voice is certain are all facts that prove him guilty. The site operator claimed that they have repeatedly asked the student to visit a private digital forensic center to prove the factors wrong, but he did not provide any evidence and simply reiterated the claim emotionally. So again, you know what? Just because people are bullying you to just say something or do something doesn't mean much. Just like Black Lives Matter can say, raise your fist, say you support us. Well, great, and they'll still smash your table, and it doesn't mean anything. A mob can get you to do whatever they want, but what they want isn't always the facts and the truth eventually takes time to come out. But sadly, people want fast action. Digital prison is known by the supporters as a shadow system operated by anonymous figures acting behind a veil of social judges of sexual crimes. First created in May after growing public anger over a series of lenient sentences by the National Judiciary for sex crimes, the site has since gathered the personal information of all 100 alleged offenders. This includes the information of So Jun-woo, who is believed to be the creator of one of the world's largest child porn sites, Welcome to Video. However, critics say the false accusations can eventually result in a social turmoil, causing the spread of rumors and stigmatizations to grow. An attorney working in the information technology and telecommunications law at a major law firm here committed, even if the case turns out to be true, it may still consist defamation depending on the primary purpose. The lawyer, who prefers to remain anonymous, added, although the website claims that it represents the work for social justice and greater public interest, its existence of its site itself could turn into a means of a witch hunt battle. And I actually agree to that. We have a lot of those kind of sites here in America, not so much for sexual ones. Maybe there are for sexual ones, but there definitely are witch sites for like everything from like Me Too to civil rights to whatever. So what do you guys think about having sites like that? Do you think it's okay to have them? And do you think they should only be for convicted people or for whatnot, or people that are just there's no evidence? Should they be on this list too? I mean, I don't necessarily mind. Like, that's why in America we have a sex offenders list, but usually you only get that after you're convicted, and so that's okay. But putting somebody on a list when they have no proof, that's not okay. And again, leaving accusations about I've been raped or I've been touched with no proof, though, that's not okay to put people on a list or disrupt their lives either. So anyway, there have been cases with the digital prison identifying the wrong person as a sex offender and released personal information. A medical professor and a former martial arts fighter were previously falsely accused in digital prison. So see, they're not perfect. People again act too fast. So again, what do you think about these kind of sites? What can be done to either take them down or make them safer? And what should the people that have been falsely accused do if they're in that situation? And should they actually go after legal action? Please leave your comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Okay. Our next article of the day comes from Japan, and Peach plane diverts to Niigata Airport to offload a passenger who refuses to wear a mask. Peach aviation plane on a flight from Hokkaido to Horako to Kansai Airport in Osaka made an unscheduled stop at Niigata Airport to offload an unruly passenger who refused to wear a face mask and was threatening cabin crews. Well, first off, if it's one person, why can't they just lock him in the bathroom? But okay, we'll keep going. According to the airplane and police, the incident occurred on Monday afternoon, Kyoto News reported. The plane was about to take off when the cabin attendant noticed that the man wasn't wearing a mask. The budget carrier, like all airlines in Japan, recommends passengers and crew to wear face masks to mitigate the spread of the virus. When the cabin attendant asked the man to wear a mask, he refused. Other passengers seated near him asked if they could move to other seats, saying they did not want to be seated next to somebody not wearing a mask. At which point the man became angry and started yelling at them, accusing them of slandering him. As a result, the plane departure was delayed for about 45 minutes and took off at 1:15 p.m. Well, why did they wait 45 minutes to take this guy off? After takeoff, the flight attendant asked the man once more to wear the mask, but he refused. One of the cabin attendants told the man that a letter containing an official warning would be sent to him if he didn't cooperate. The man told them to go ahead and started abusing the attendant and other passengers. Again, why did they wait 45 minutes and take off instead of just kicking him off the plane? This kind of reminds me of the girl in America when they tried sending home a rapist and killer and a child molester that was illegal back to South America somewhere, maybe Mexico. She made a big scene on the plane, so they didn't take the plane off, but they did eventually arrest her, and they waited months later to send that guy back. Okay, the captain decided to divert the plane carrying 124 passengers to Nigeria Airport, where the police removed him. The plane took off and arrived at Kasan Airport about 2 hours late. Airline officials said that they plan to seek 500,000 yen comparison from the man for the trouble and inconvenience it had caused the airline, aircraft, passengers, and crew. All right, so that's about $500,000. That's not too bad. The Transport Ministry said that it's the first time that such an incident involving a passenger not wearing a mask under the aviation industry virus has occurred in Japan. So, but I don't know if I would publish this article. The reason I say that is you're going to have people that want to create terrorism or terrorist or whatever. Now, somebody can now read this article and have, wow, I got the bright idea. I'm going to not wear I'm going to have a mask, and then I'm just going to throw it on the ground after the plane's taken off, and I'm just going to cause a scene and make the plane divert. Oh, well, maybe I'll get a fine, maybe I'll go to jail, but I've just caused hardship. And let's just say we're going from New York to Europe, and you're out in the middle of the ocean. What are they going to do, right? So do you think it was appropriate publishing this kind of thing in the newspaper? Do you think it might give other people a bright idea how to cause a distraction, whether it's a plane or other place? It could be a cruise or a movie theater or whatever. And what should we do with people that do this kind of action and to handle it in a fast and efficient way, not wait 45 minutes and whatnot? Please leave your comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. I really want to know. Okay, moving on to our last article of the day. Self-driving buses being tested across Japan let you pay with your face. Being cautious is certainly wise, but we really seem to be dragging our collective heels when it comes to self-driving vehicles. Considering in Japan, reports of cars barreling straight into storefronts seem to happen frequently. Wow, so in America only happen once or twice, but they're happening quite often in Japan. It's hard to imagine even a flawed automation driving system doing much worse than that humanity as a whole has been. So basically, Japan is launching these buses, but steps are being made and interesting development that has come out by the Masaki City and Guma preference. More sparsely populated, and mid-sized cities such as this rely much more on the vertical transport, making it a great testing ground for a new self-driving bus development by a council of public transport companies. All right, so they launch these buses, and the buses are basically, it's not curved roads, many roads. They said there's, I don't know, horizontal and vertical roads, so like a tic-tac-toe board. So, but they're letting the people pay with their face, that have like a reader on it. But what do you think about that? Do you think you're ready for self-driving buses? So let's read a little bit more. Well, it's almost completely without a human. A minor software glitch requires a human to take over for about 4 days on the trail run. Nevertheless, of the 1,306 passengers who rode on the road, had said it was just as good as a human driver. The bus, when it came to accelerating and turning smoothly, and the third said it was even better. However, when it came to stopping, over half the passengers described it as bad, and only a quarter called it good as a human. So the performance was a mixed bag. Most walked away impressed overall. But perhaps the most appealing feature of both the buses was their face pass. The system in which passengers have their face scanned and registered beforehand so that their account gets charged automatically once their face is detected boarding the bus. Now, I don't know, how would you feel about that face pass? That means you're in a system, and that system could be anything. They could start with that face pass on the bus system, but then they could use that for shopping, they can use that for criminal justice, they can use that for video recording, seeing you in public. I don't know. Would you be comfortable with using your face to pay for things and to use things? And would you be okay with it being used by third-party companies and your government for everywhere you go and everything you do? But either way, I think that it's kind of interesting that buses are becoming popular. So anyway, what do you think about that? Please like, comment, subscribe.
Well, that will conclude today's Loyal Railed info. Thank you for spending time with me today. Feel free to like, subscribe, or drop a comment below. Or if you are on the go, listen to my podcast with the link provided in the description. I am on Stitcher and the iPhone store. I will see you tomorrow and share new rules info stories. And lastly, all my articles I talked about, all the links are in the description below.